I just kind of wanted to go over what we do and how it's going and kind of the things that we've got going on right now. And if you've got questions at the end or you'd like me to expound more on certain things, let me know. So, yeah, but my name is Cole Diggins. I've been working over here at Oklahoma State for a year now on my master's project, and we've been working on these cropland observatory nodes, sorry, or CRONOS stations. And I just kind of wanted to go over today some of our basic operations, things that we've been doing, and to just kind of start it off, what are these cropland observatory nodes? We've been developing them with in tandem with Andreas Patrignani, his over at K-State with his group, and these nodes they're made so that we can monitor soil plant atmosphere variables anywhere. I mean, they're highly portable. We're able to take them out and we can deploy them, almost anywhere in any cropping system or pasture. I mean, in a pasture, we would have issues with cattle. We'd have to put, panels or something like that up, but we wanted to make sure that they were possible for being put just about anywhere you wanted to do it. And specifically, we've used them in cropping systems. So going on with that, what exactly is involved in these nodes? Well, we've got the number one thing that this all centers around is soil moisture, and looking at the, some of that part of the natural capital that's involved in this. We want to be able to analyze how much soil moisture people have in their fields, maybe some management decisions they need to make based on that. And we're still kind of working on how do we need to develop that for modeling purposes, for just basic detection to tell them about some things that are going on in their fields and in the general area. But what these cosmic ray neutron detectors allow us to do is that typically with soil moisture measurements, you're measuring an area that, it's the size of a Folgers can that goes down through the soil. It's not a very large area of soil that you're able to monitor. But whenever you use these cosmic ray neutron detectors, based on some calibrations from Zreda, Coley, Deslitz, we're able to actually take whole fields to 100-meter, 150-meter radius from our station, and we can incorporate a weighted average based on what we're getting in neutron counts and some of the other variables we detect, and that allows us to figure out a relative average for the soil moisture in that field, and it really allows for this large-scale monitoring of soil moisture. So in these nodes, that requires, of course, the cosmic ray neutron detector. In our first generation CRONOS nodes, we used helium-3 detectors, which are, they are like the peak when it comes to a thing like this, but they're also highly expensive. And then we have a downward-facing camera, which we then use to send photos of the crop to our FTP server, and we then process them using the Canopeo algorithm. And that gives us our canopy cover percentage to put it onto a little website for farmers and people to look at, farmers, researchers, etc., where they have an available look at this is kind of what we're seeing in your field right now, which of course they're going to be boots on the ground. They're going to probably be seeing it anyway, but it allows us to track that green canopy cover as it goes through the cropping season. And then we also collect atmospheric data with the weather station you can see mounted on top here. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but there's a weather station mounted on top of our system, which then that's an all-in-one weather station. It gives us our temperature, vapor pressure, barometric, relative humidity, wind direction. It gets us just about everything you could need for a system like this. Now, in our Gen 2, in our second generation stations, we've made a change where now we're going to use, and we're still putting these together, they've been being assembled. We're going to start using lithium-6 neutron detectors. So that's a little different in that it's a lot cheaper, and it isn't as, it's not, we haven't tested it yet. So we're wanting to see, is it going to be a comparable system? And it appears to be. Like, they are very close so far in all the testing that's been done in lab. So we're going to deploy them out in the field and co-locate them for a couple of weeks with one of our previous stations, make sure that everything's good, and then most likely we'll be deploying them as well into some more fields. So we've got 3 of our original stations, and then we're building 3 of these right now. And that I'm really kind of excited to see how that comparison turns out as well, because that would cut down on the price a lot whenever it comes to if we want to start building more of these. And then, so just to kind of go into what we do as far as that's kind of the building it and what our stations do, the way that we really implement this is through calibration, and considering it's, still need to be tested, we're also doing some validation studies right now. That's what I've been working on this last wheat season. So, since 2021, we've been collecting monthly since January. I guess we started in February. So the first week of February in 2021, we have been collecting at the first week of the month soil samples, plant biomass samples, and pictures for our green canopy cover calculations at each of our sites. So in that, we have to take 14 biomass, 14 cores, etc., at each of the different sites, and we've been doing that the first week of every month. And with it, we're hoping to, and then of course we take different soil depths as well. And if you want me to go deeper into that, I would be more than happy to, but just for the sake of time, just kind of wanted to give you a brief outline of that. And with those data, we have an in-field, this is our actual, we have measured it, we know this was the soil moisture at this time. And then we're working at the moment to compare those data we've been collecting with the what we were reading at those moments to check and make sure that our validations have been correct and related to our calibrations that we took whenever we first deployed the stations. So moving on from that, I just kind of wanted to give some examples of some of the data that we've been seeing. This here is just an example of how the canopale algorithm works. It takes all of the green in the canopy, and this was a corn crop that was done down in Chickasha, Oklahoma, last summer. And the reason I picked it to show you, we see this, and this is whenever the corn was still greening up a little bit in some of the earlier stages. And as you can see, we caught it right at the dry down whenever that was our first one we deployed. And you can see that dry down over the course of time as it goes in. And then we come back around as the weeds, we started seeing a lot of weed pressure, and it was able to detect that even through the dried down corn. You could see that weed pressure really coming up. And of course, the weed pressure at that point isn't as much of a concern. I mean, the corn has already went to full growth, but I just kind of wanted to show that. And that's how our green canopy cover analysis, that's kind of what those data look like. Now, looking at our all-in-one weather station, I did a small comparison here a few months ago between our weather station and the mesonet station that is around about 200 meters away from our one in Chickasha, Oklahoma, and just wanted to show that, our weather station is pretty accurate. Our wind speed, at first we thought that this might be an issue, but as time went on, realized that it's because we're doing them in different, our wind speed with the mesonet and our wind speed with the CRONOS station were set up on two different time frames. So our averages were a little off there, but that was something we encountered whenever we first started, that I brought up at our last big rain meeting that we had, that there were some issues with our wind speeds, but that actually has been rectified in recent months. So that we figured out that isn't as big an issue as we thought. But yeah, going on from that, so this is what we really do it for. So this is the soil moisture measurements that our station is able to collect, and these data have been smoothed. But as you can see, we get kind of here in early January, we see how it starts to dry down. We get a big dry down and some rain events as time goes on. And this was down in southwest Oklahoma. And then as we move into at our station in North Oklahoma, you can see that while we did have some similar trends, our soil moisture was a lot higher in North Oklahoma. Our dry down wasn't as big of an effect, a lot more precipitation events, and we're able to actually quantify what that soil moisture was on an average across the entire field. So for that area, we know that most of the fields would have been undergoing a similar event and similar soil moisture content. And that's kind of what we do as far as the CRONOS stations go. And I'd just like to say thank you to RAIN for their continued support, and also to our farmer cooperators for their continued contributions. And I kind of wanted to save some time here to take any questions kind of about what we do. So.